Hey, what's going on, guys? Today, hopefully this video will apply more to more of you than the last couple ones have. We're going to be going through my rankings of the top 50 fantasy football quarterbacks for the 2021 NFL season. Now, this is a ranking I put together in an article in early, I guess, mid-June. You can go check this out. I'm leaving the actual article in the description, so if you want to go read that instead of watching this video, which I'm going to try to keep around 10 minutes long, if you want to read the article instead, or just scroll through it, the link is in the description below. So just kicking it off, I have tier one. These are my elite fantasy options. Patrick Mahomes tops the list. He's going to be in the top 5 no matter what, just because when you play with Tyreek Hill, you play with Travis Kelce, you're going to score a lot of points. Mahomes and Kansas City's offense have always done that. You're going to get a ton of deep passes. Some fantasy leagues I know give bonuses for scoring on long plays or having longer plays. Kansas City is going to give you that. So Patrick Mahomes is number one. Number two, Josh Allen. It's a little bit tricky because we might have seen the best season Josh Allen will ever have already. We don't know if he's going to continue to get any better based on where he is right now. Even if he regresses a little bit, though, he's still going to be an elite fantasy option because playing with Stephon Diggs, even with guys like Cole Beasley, all those players, the Emmanuel Sanders, that depth they have on that offense. Gabriel Davis is another one. It's going to produce a lot of fantasy points. Allen's also fairly mobile. He can use his legs, give you a few touchdowns on the ground. I think Buffalo's offense is going to be better and more dynamic than their defense is going to be actually this year. We might see the Bills transition from being a defensive team into being an offensive team over the next couple of years. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Pretty self-explanatory there. Lamar is just everywhere. Lamar is tough to tackle. He's more elusive than guys like, well, maybe Kyler Murray is more elusive, but Lamar's trickier to bring down. I don't really know which one. How do you rank those two against each other in terms of how hard they are to just get out read on in the open field? But Lamar's going to run for a lot. He's run for over 1,000 yards this past 2 seasons. So that's a ton of fantasy points, even more what you're going to get from him passing the ball. He does get a decent number of passing touchdowns, not a phenomenal amount. Not going to top Josh Allen or Mahomes in that category most years. But he does enough as a passer that you get to reap the full benefits of him being a tremendous rushing quarterback. Who also gets more points than most fantasy running backs, at least from the ground game. Kyler Murray at 4, again, going to run for over 800 yards this year, going to air the ball out quite a bit with Cliff Kingsbury as his head coach. They're going to go deep. They're going to go deep often. I just think that Kyler Murray, even though he's a mid-level quarterback for me, is going to get so many opportunities to get fantasy points this year, whether it be on the ground or through the air. And the type of offense they run, it just all works out so well in Kyler Murray's favor. He's going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year if he can stay healthy. And speaking of staying healthy, Dak Prescott's also in that same category in terms of what he's able to do in the current offense he's in. I mean, he was on pace to set the record, the single-season record for passing yards in the NFL this past year. He was going to throw for over 6,000 at the rate he was going out before getting injured, which is insane. But it doesn't maybe not contribute to wins for Dallas, but it's going to put up a ton of fantasy points for you. Dak can run. Will be able to get you some touchdowns on the ground. Not going to do that a ton, though. You know, that's kind of part of the game that's kind of fading away. He's not going to do that a lot. Maybe not even as much this year as he did last year because of the issue he had with his leg, a catastrophic injury, obviously. But even if he's more of a pocket passer this year, he's still going to get a ton of passing yards. So you can help you out there. Probably going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback if Mike McCarthy runs a similar offense the way he did last year. Tier 2, this was disgruntled superstars. This has obviously changed quite a bit since June. But in June, we had a situation where Russell Wilson was not happy in Seattle. I still think he's a tier 2 quarterback because he doesn't run a ton now, like not run as much as he used to. He's not going to rush for 700 yards in a year anymore, which he did at one point. He's still going to be a very good quarterback, but he's going to have bad nights. And we saw it this past year. He's going to have those 3 interception games, which some other guys won't have. He's going to have stretches of games where he's just not going to be as productive as he is early in the season. Because he usually starts strong and fades early. And that's probably what's going to happen this year again, based on the trends and data we've seen the past couple of years. So Russell Wilson, to me, still an elite fantasy option, but he's a tier 2 guy for me. Aaron Rodgers, the likelihood that he repeats what he did this past season again is very low. He could still be a very good quarterback. He could still be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. He's just not going to be as insanely good as he was this past year. Now, he's back. He's happier with the franchise and the state of the franchise right now. They gave him Randall Cobb. Devontae Adams is back. Aaron Jones is back. They lost some depth on the offensive line. They got Aaron Rodgers in the draft, so there's a couple things going for and against Green Bay right now. I think Aaron Rodgers is still a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be as good as he was last year. Deshaun Watson, who knows? I mean, I had to include him on the list, and I've said this in our previous videos. I'm not going to play judge and jury. I have no idea what happened. Okay? I can only know what Deshaun Watson's telling me and what the people who are accusing him are telling me. I have no idea what actually happened. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am capable of judging Deshaun Watson, declaring he's guilty or innocent. I have no idea what went on. I have no idea how it's going to play out. I'm going to let the court and I'm going to let the NFL figure that out. They will decide whether Deshaun Watson is innocent or guilty, and they will either punish him or let him go scot-free based on whatever they determine. So I'm just going to continue to go on and just act like Deshaun Watson's still in the NFL, and if he isn't, then he isn't anymore. And we'll move on from that point for going forward. And if he continues to stay in the NFL, then he continues to stay in the NFL and continue to cover Deshaun Watson as long as we continue to mention that there are these stories surrounding him off the field. I have him at 8 because I felt I had to include him on this list. There's a chance he doesn't play this year, not just because of the off-the-field stuff, but also because he doesn't really want to be in Houston, supposedly. He requested a trade from the organization months ago at this point. We'll see how that plays out. There's a chance he doesn't even suit up to play in regular season games for this year, although he has, I think, shown up and not put on pads, but put on jerseys and thrown the ball around a couple times at Texans practices so far. Tier 3, Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a Tier 1 NFL quarterback, but he's only a Tier 3 fantasy guy at this point. He had a ton of touchdowns this past year, which really helped him out quite a bit, and was fairly efficient with the ball, which is why he's in Tier 3. Ryan Tannehill, another efficient guy who's going to get you in that 26 touchdown range, not going to turn the ball over a ton, so you can get a lot of benefits from that. The issue is going to be that the Tennessee Titans just don't throw the ball a lot. They rank in the bottom 3 in the NFL in pass attempts this past year. It's not their philosophy. It's not their offensive game plan. That's Derrick Henry. So even though they have Julio Jones and A.J. Brown, I don't think Ryan Tannehill is going to take any kind of jump this year in fantasy football. He's still going to be a good quarterback, but not going to be an elite fantasy option. Justin Herbert, we know even less about him than we know about the other guys on this list, but he's still a solid quarterback. We saw what he did this past year, and they upgraded his offensive line. So I'm thinking that he's going to actually take a little bit of a jump forward this year because he's going to have better protection. He's going to have better coaching as well. Even though I do like Anthony Lynn as a head coach, I feel bad for him being fired, but the likelihood of them getting worse or him getting worse this year seems very low to me. This is not a Baker Mayfield situation where Baker Mayfield goes into year 2 with a bad head coach and just bombs. I think Justin Herbert's going to be much better this year than whatever Baker Mayfield could have been in his second season. 12, Jalen Hurts. People will not understand this, but let me say it this way. If Jalen Hurts starts for Philadelphia for even 12 games this year, he's going to run for over 800 yards. He's going to run for close to 1,000 yards this year. Just based on what he did in his couple of starts last year. He's going to get close to that number. And that is cash money from a fantasy perspective. Is it risky? Yeah. But chances are, people in your fantasy league might not even draft Jalen Hurts in the first couple of rounds. You maybe can get him in the mid-round. Or maybe get him in, I don't know, not in the first round at least, but you can get him maybe in the 4th or 5th round. Cash money, as long as he starts. We don't know if he's going to start or how many games he's going to start. But he'll get so many rushing yards that could easily make up for all the problems he'll have passing the ball, which is why he's up here. Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford. Matt Ryan still has some good receiving options in Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley, even though he's not been as good the past couple of years as he was previously in his peak. Stafford's going to a very great offense in L.A. He's never really been a dominant quarterback, but he's going to pair up with Sean McVay, which means he's going to put up good numbers and be a good fantasy quarterback. You also have Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp over there, Higbee as well. So there's a lot of options for Stafford to throw the ball to. Tier 2, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow apparently has not been doing so well at training camp so far or in Bengals practices. He's had some issues. I think part of that is getting back from the injury. We'll see how long it takes him to fully get back to where he was before that, if he ever does. Hopefully he's not scarred for the rest of his career because of Cincinnati and the incompetence of the Bengals. But I still think that Burrow is going to be a good quarterback. I just don't know if he's going to be ready to play at a high level to start the year. He's still a Tier 4 guy to me no matter what, but I probably would rank him a little lower if I redid this list. Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr, both solid quarterbacks, both guys who are competing to be maybe in that top 12, top 14 group of quarterbacks in the NFL right now in terms of overall skill. The issue is going to be that they just don't they're not explosive guys. They're not going to run the ball for you. They're going to get you a decent number of touchdowns. They're going to probably throw between, I'll say, 22 to 26 touchdowns for you in that range this year. But they're not going to give you anything on the ground. They're going to have both of them probably in the range of 6 to 10 turnovers, or at least 6 and 10 interceptions. Decent options, but probably not your top guys if you have a choice. Baker Mayfield is in a similar group for me. He's surrounded by so much talent, but Cleveland thrives when they run the ball versus passing the ball. And Baker Mayfield was actually better this past year when Odell Beckham Jr. was not on the field for the most part. So Baker Mayfield, to me, good quarterback, not a great fantasy option. He's going to have bad games. He's not going to run as much as guys we talked about in the past. And again, he's not really even the primary engine of the Cleveland offense. So Baker Mayfield, tier 4 quarterback for me. Trevor Lawrence, they're just going to have so many opportunities to just experiment in Jacksonville. Trevor's going to throw the ball a ton. Trevor's DM and James Robinson might get a ton of opportunities. I think each team will get a lot of opportunities maybe to line up as a wide receiver at some point in time. Trevor Lawrence is going to have to experiment and going to have to see if he can stand up to Urban Meyer's coaching staff, and who knows how it's going to work out. I am a big Trevor Lawrence fan because I'm from Clemson, or I went to Clemson. So we'll see how this plays out. I have faith in Trevor Lawrence being a good fantasy quarterback, but that doesn't mean I'm going to draft him in the first round or at all. Tier 5. This is obviously going to change quite a bit. Carson Wentz has a foot injury. We don't know when he's going to be back. It's 5 to 12 weeks. Carson Wentz, to me, is undraftable at this point in time because we don't know when he's going to be back. We don't know when he's going to be healthy. And it's just another injury tacked on to Carson Wentz's long history. So I'm not drafting Carson Wentz at this point. He belongs in tier 5. This is right for him. But I'm not touching him. Tyrod Taylor, is in this tier because Deshaun Watson might not play. Now, granted, Deshaun Watson showing up and actually being at Texans practices might throw a little bit of a wrench in this ranking, but there's a good chance Deshaun Watson doesn't play, or at least doesn't play in the majority of the season, in which case Tyrod Taylor can come in and still get you good numbers. He can run. He's a decent quarterback. He's been to the Pro Bowl in the past. Not going to be your starter. You don't want him as your starting quarterback, but he's a solid backup option who could potentially be a steal for you just because he's going to be Houston's engine on offense if Deshaun Watson doesn't play. Jameis Winston, tons of yards, tons of touchdowns, tons of interceptions. I mean, what else do you want to expect from him? He's Jameis Winston at this point. He'll put up good numbers in terms of yards and touchdowns. He's going to put up bad numbers in terms of interceptions. It's just what he does. Fitzpatrick, in a similar sense, you really don't know what you're getting week to week. Both these guys, Winston and Fitzpatrick, can have phenomenal outings where they throw for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards and turn around the next week and throw for 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. It's just what these two guys do. If you're willing to take a risk on these guys and playing them in matchup-specific scenarios where we're playing against bad defenses, that could play. That could work. I don't think I'm going to feel confident in starting or playing either one of these guys or drafting either one of these guys with significant draft capital. Big Ben, I've talked about him at length. Arm talent, gone. Aging quarterback, mobility sapped. I just don't know. Pittsburgh's going to throw the ball a ton because the offensive line is so terrible. I don't see them being able to run the ball a lot. They're going to do a lot of those short passes again this year, a lot of dinking and dunking. Ben threw for over 30 touchdowns this past year somehow. In that offense, if he did it once, he could probably do it again. It's a risky proposition, but someone's going to take it. Daniel Jones, not been good so far, but a very good deep ball passer. That's the one thing he does well. Some leagues, again, reward you for having or scoring on deep plays. Daniel Jones can help you out in that category. He's also got some wheels, so he can be able to move a little bit more than guys like Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, and he can hit much greater speeds than someone like Ben Roethlisberger ever could. So we'll see how that plays out. Jared Goff, going to get a lot of opportunities to throw the ball. Just a very middle of the pack Detroit Lions team that has a decent offensive line suddenly, and an unproven backfield, and not many pass catchers outside T.J. Hawkinson. It's just a very messy situation in Detroit. Jared Goff is probably better than the 26th quarterback in the NFL, but for terms of a fantasy purpose, I don't really want to buy into him this year. Tua's apparently looked on and off at practices so far this offseason. I'm not touching him just because he was not good as a rookie. He was phenomenal in college, but just did not transition well into his rookie year. Could turn things around. I'm not going to buy into that if I have a choice. Zach Wilson, Dynamic quarterback. Love what we saw at BYU. It doesn't mean he's going to have phenomenally rookie year. Tua didn't. So Zach Wilson, again, some concerns there. Playing on a Jets team, has an improving offensive line, improving wide receiver room, but a lot of limitations as well. Sam Darnold, former Jets quarterback now. Playing in an offense that's a lot of offense. No offensive line whatsoever outside of Taylor Wilson, but Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, David Moore, you get the idea. He's going to have some big plays eventually. And I think we're just going to speed up here because we're getting a little bit long in terms of the video length. Cam Newton, don't even know how long he's going to start for this year. I expect Mac Jones to eventually start. Justin Fields will eventually start for the Chicago Bears, just not immediately. Jimmy Garoppolo will start and should start for the 49ers. Probably will lose his job eventually if the 49ers struggle. Teddy Bridgewater should absolutely beat out Drew Locke. Trey Lance, dynamic quarterback, uses his legs, big body guy with a lot of speed, a lot of agility, and athleticism. It's a matter of time for him taking over Jimmy Garoppolo. I just think if the 49ers are not above 500 by week 8, I think Trey Lance will get in. If they are above 500 by week 8, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to stay for a little while longer. It's really just a toss-up. You probably don't want to be drafting any of these guys anyways. These are probably waiver wire targets for you at best. Or dynasty league targets, the older guys. Mac Jones at 35. He's going to replace Cam Newton at some point. Cam Newton was bad last year, outside maybe the first couple of games of the season. If he plays like that again this year, Mac Jones is going to be in by week 8. Taysom Hill. Is Sean Payton really going to let Taysom Hill beat out Jameis Winston to be the starting quarterback in New Orleans? I hope not. But there's a possibility. Andy Dalton at 37. I just don't see him starting ahead of Justin Fields for very long. I'm a big Justin Fields guy. I think Andy Dalton is a better quarterback than what a lot of people give him credit for. But I'm a big Justin Fields guy. I think at some point, the Bears drafted Fields to try to give their struggling front office and coaching staff a second chance. They have to take it by playing Justin Fields. They cannot wait a full year because then will be fired next offseason. Jordan Love was only on this list because I wasn't sure if Aaron Rodgers was going to show up and play. Aaron Rodgers is showing up. Don't touch Jordan Love. Drew Locke, yeah, there's a chance. He's a guy. It could be up to Teddy Bridgewater if Teddy Bridgewater's offense is just not explosive enough for Denver's liking. Drew Locke just makes too many mistakes. Week to week, waiver wire targets. Taylor Heineke. We saw what he could do this past year, especially in the playoffs against a Tampa Bay defense that was legendary to some extent. Being able to play that well gives Taylor Heineke at least some draft capital, in my opinion, as a waiver wire target because Ryan Fitzpatrick, again, is so up and down. You don't know what he's going to do week to week. If he comes off and throws 5 interceptions in a game, chances are he's going to be benched at some point, and this is a guy who can go in and make some big plays. Jacoby Brissett, again, Tua did not look good this past year. Brissett is the backup. We've seen him start in the season before, so just a heads up for him. Joe Flacco, a similar situation. Jalen Hurts had up and down experiment the past year with Philadelphia. If he doesn't work out or he starts to struggle, Flacco could see some playing time. Gardner Minshew is one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't anticipate him ever playing ahead of Trevor Lawrence, but if Trevor Lawrence gets hurt the same way that Joe Burrow got hurt last year, Gardner Minshew will come in and put some good numbers. Davis Mills, outside chance he actually sees the field now that Deshaun Watson is showing up to practices, but in the case that Watson hadn't, it would have been Tyrod Taylor and Davis Mills as the top 2 quarterbacks in Houston, and Tyrod Taylor has a history of being replaced by rookie quarterbacks. Mason Rudolph, 45, might not even win the backup job. Dwayne Haskins is there competing for a role as well. Mike Glennon, again, veteran quarterback behind a young, struggling quarterback who could see some playing time if Jones gets hurt this year, because Colt McCoy saw some playing time and had some role last year. Kyle Allen-Nur, veteran quarterback on the Washington football team that could see playing time if Fitzpatrick struggles. Mariota, the best backup quarterback in the NFL, playing in Las Vegas. Derek Carr gets hurt, Mariota comes in, would have a good game. Or could even be traded to become a star somewhere else at some point in the year. Colt McCoy, again, saw him last year, decent quarterback. Can give you some decent numbers. Kellen Mond has apparently struggled and has dealt with COVID, so I wouldn't expect too much from him. But again, if Kirk Cousins goes down, Kellen Mond, who I liked a lot at Texas A&M, had some good highlight reel plays and could maybe make something happen, but nothing significant enough to warrant being drafted. And these are guys just unranked rookies who might get some playing time eventually, probably not. I would highly bet against any of those guys becoming stars at any point this year. Yeah, but that's it, guys. Again, you can check out this full article at the link in the description. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a bit longer video than I expected it to be, but thank you again for your patience. Thanks for tuning in. Listen to me ramble. Have a good day. Gotta stop the recording. Stop.